In the beginning, there was nothing. No sound, no light, no time, just silence. And then God spoke, "Let there be light." And suddenly, there was. Light broke into the darkness. That's how the story of Genesis begins, the story of everything. In the beginning, before time itself had meaning, there was only the vast, silent void. Out of this infinite darkness, God began his work. With a word, he shaped the heavens, stretching them out like a canvas, painting the universe with swirling galaxies, radiant nebulae, and the first glimmers of starlight. The cosmos, once empty, now pulsed with the promise of creation. He gathered the waters, commanding the seas to surge and swirl, carving out the boundaries of the oceans and the land. Continents rose from the depths, their rugged forms shaped by fire and water. Volcanoes erupted, mountains soared, and the earth took its first breath, alive with the energy of creation. Above, he filled the sky with countless stars, each one a beacon in the darkness, each one set in its place with intention. On the land, he planted forests that stretched as far as the eye could see, trees reaching toward the heavens, their leaves whispering in the wind. Rivers flowed, nourishing the earth, and sunlight danced through the branches, bringing warmth and life. The seas teemed with life, creatures of every shape and color, from the tiniest plankton to the great leviathans of the deep. On land, animals roamed freely, birds soared through the sky, insects buzzed among the flowers, and every corner of creation was alive with movement and sound. Each detail was carefully placed, each creature formed with purpose and care, a reflection of the Creator's imagination. And then, at the pinnacle of his creation, God turned his attention to the earth itself. From the dust, he formed Adam, shaping him with loving hands, molding every feature with intention. The ground, once lifeless, now gave rise to something entirely new, a being made in the image of God, unique among all living things. God leaned close and breathed life into Adam, filling him with spirit and consciousness. In that sacred moment, Adam's eyes opened to the world. His chest rose with his first breath, and he became a living soul. The earth, once silent, now echoed with the heartbeat of humanity. But God saw that Adam was alone, and in his wisdom, he created a companion. From Adam's side he formed Eve, a partner and equal, someone to share in the wonder and responsibility of this new world. Together, they stood at the dawn of humanity, united in purpose and spirit. God placed them in a garden called Eden, a paradise overflowing with beauty and life, where every tree was laden with fruit, every stream sparkled with clarity, and peace reigned over all. In this sacred place, Adam and Eve walked with God, experiencing a closeness and harmony beyond our imagination. It was a world untouched by sorrow, a beginning filled with hope, wonder, and the promise of all that was to come. But paradise was fragile. A choice was given, obey or turn away. And when the serpent whispered doubt, Adam and Eve listened. One bite changed everything. Innocence lost, the first crack in creation. From that moment on, the story of Genesis becomes a story of people, flawed, searching, struggling. Cain, jealous of his brother Abel, spilled blood into the earth, and humanity's brokenness grew deeper. Yet even in the brokenness, God did not leave. Long ago, in a world that had lost its way, the earth was filled with violence, cruelty, and corruption. People had turned away from kindness and justice, and darkness seemed to cover the land. In the midst of this chaos, God looked down and saw one man who still walked with integrity, Noah. He was different. He was honest, faithful, and tried to do what was right, even when everyone around him chose the opposite path. God chose Noah for a purpose that would change the course of history. God spoke to Noah and gave him a task that seemed impossible: to build a massive ark, a great wooden vessel, in the middle of dry land. This ark would be a vessel of hope, a lifeboat for a new beginning, while the rest of the world would face a devastating flood. Day after day, Noah and his family worked tirelessly, cutting wood, hammering beams, and shaping the ark according to God's instructions. People from the nearby villages would come to watch, pointing and laughing at the sight. They mocked Noah, calling him foolish for believing in a flood that no one else could imagine. But Noah did not waver. He trusted in God's word, even when it made no sense to those around him. Then, one day the sky darkened in a way no one had ever seen before. The wind howled, and the first drops of rain began to fall. Soon the heavens opened, and a torrential downpour flooded the earth. Rivers overflowed, valleys disappeared beneath the rising waters, and the world as people knew it was swept away. The laughter and mockery faded, replaced by fear and regret. Inside the ark, Noah and his family huddled together, surrounded by the animals they had gathered, 2 of every kind, just as God had commanded. The storm raged outside, but within the ark there was a sense of hope and faith. They prayed together, trusting that God would keep them safe through the darkness. For 40 days and 40 nights the rain fell, but Noah's faith never faltered. His trust in God became the salvation of his family, a beacon of hope in a world washed clean. At last, the rain stopped, and the waters began to recede. The ark came to rest on a mountaintop, and Noah sent out a dove to search for dry land. When the dove returned with an olive leaf, Noah knew that a new beginning was possible. As the family stepped out onto the fresh earth, sunlight broke through the clouds, and a brilliant rainbow stretched across the sky. This was more than just a beautiful sight. It was a sign, a promise from God to Noah and to all generations to come. The rainbow after the storm was God's promise. Never again will I destroy the earth with a flood. It was a symbol of hope, forgiveness, and new beginnings, a reminder that even in the darkest times, faith and obedience can lead to salvation, and that every storm will eventually give way to light. Generations passed, and God chose a man named Abram, later called Abraham. He was old, without children, but God told him, "Look at the stars. So shall your descendants be." It sounded impossible, yet Abraham believed, and that faith became the beginning of a people, a covenant that would echo through history. From Abraham came Isaac, from Isaac Jacob, and from Jacob, 12 sons, the tribes of Israel. But Genesis doesn't hide the struggles. Jacob tricked his brother. Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery. Families broke apart. Choices brought pain. And yet, through every failure, God kept weaving the story forward. Even when everything seemed lost, when darkness covered the horizon and hope was just a distant memory, there was a purpose unfolding. The story of Joseph is a testament to this mysterious, persistent thread of hope. Joseph, the dreamer, betrayed and left for dead by his own brothers, found himself in a foreign land, Egypt. He was sold as a slave, stripped of his family and everything he knew. Yet even in the depths of despair, Joseph's faith did not waver. Through years of hardship, false accusations and imprisonment, he held on to the dreams God had given him. In time, Joseph's wisdom and integrity caught the attention of Pharaoh himself. Against all odds, Joseph rose to power, becoming second only to Pharaoh in all of Egypt. He managed the nation's resources with foresight and compassion, preparing for a future no one else could see. When famine struck the land, it was not just Egypt that suffered. The drought reached far and wide, touching Joseph's homeland and the family that had once betrayed him. Driven by hunger and desperation, his brothers journeyed to Egypt seeking food and mercy from a powerful stranger they did not recognize. The tables had turned. The dreamer they had cast aside now held their fate in his hands. And Joseph? He forgave them. In a moment heavy with emotion, Joseph revealed his identity to his brothers. Instead of seeking revenge, he chose compassion. He embraced those who had wronged him, weeping with them, assuring them of his forgiveness. Joseph understood that every trial, every betrayal, had led to this moment of reconciliation and grace. He said, "What you meant for evil, God meant for good." Joseph's story reminds us that even in our darkest hours there is a greater plan at work. Through pain and betrayal, through loss and longing, hope can be restored. The threads of our lives, tangled and torn, can be woven into something beautiful if we trust the one who weaves the story. That's Genesis. A story that begins with creation, faces the weight of human failure, but keeps pointing back to God's faithfulness. From Adam to Noah, from Abraham to Joseph, Genesis isn't just the beginning of the Bible, it's the beginning of our story. It reminds us that we're created with purpose, that choices have consequences, and that no matter how far people fall, God's plan is never lost. The book of Genesis is not just ancient history. It's a reminder that from the very start, God has been writing a story that still speaks to us today.